and special meetings of Council are to be audio-visually recorded and streamed live. In response to COVID-19 social gathering regulations, this meeting will be held remotely via video conference. Where possible, a live stream of the meeting will be made available. A recording of the meeting will be available via the link on the Glamorgan Spring Bay Council website following the meeting. In accordance with the Local Government Act 1993 and Regulation 33, these video audio files will be retained by Council for at least 6 months and made available for viewing live, as well as online within 5 days of the scheduled meeting. The written minutes of a meeting, once confirmed, prevail over the video audio recording of the meeting. Welcome, councillors and staff, and I declare the meeting open at 2:03 p.m. There's some additional items to be considered for late agenda items, and I'll bring those in at after declaration. Oh no, I should bring them in before that. Actually, there might be a declaration. So let's, I'll do the acknowledgement of country. I'll do President apologies, and then we can consider the late agenda items. So the Glamorgan Spring Bay Council acknowledges the traditional owners of our region and recognises their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. This afternoon, all councillors are present. That would be Deputy Mayor Woods, Councillor Arnold, Browning, Breeny, Churchill, Robinson, Simons and myself. In attendance we have the Acting General Manager, Ms Walters, Council's Planner, Ms Bevilacqua, Executive Officer, Ms Higgins, and Works Manager, Mr Rob Brunning. So there's 2 items requested for late agenda items that we need to consider. So if we go to 6.1, if the Acting General Manager could just speak to that.
So we've just got the late
you're on. Oh no, you're coming through
report items, the statement of expectations, the special committee council meeting minutes on the 22nd of May at 6.1.
We'll just deal with that one first. So if I could have a motion. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, I'll move that Council endorses the inclusion of late agenda item report 6.1, Statement of Expectations, SOE in brackets, Special Committee of Council minutes of meeting on the 22nd of May 2020 to this agenda as item 6.1.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Could I have somebody to second, please? Councillor Arnold. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. Can we stop that clicking on the noise, please? Can you mute? Turn down. Thank you. Thank you. And next one.
Item 6.2, late report item, report and recommendations from the Statement of Expectations Special Committee meeting number 4.
Could I have a motion, please? Oh, sorry. I think it's self-explanatory there. It's the reason why this report needs to be late. That's written in the report. So if everyone's happy with that. So, Deputy Mayor, do you wish to move?
I'll move that Council endorses the late inclusion of late agenda report 6.2, report of and recommendations from the Statement of Expectations Special Committee meeting 22nd of May 2020 as item 6.2.
Thank you. Somebody to second, please. Councillor Browning. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you. I request elected members to indicate whether they have, one, any interest personally or via a close associate as defined in section 49 of the Local Government Act 1993, or two, any conflict as described in Council's Code of Conduct for council laws in any item in the agenda. Councillor Simons?
3.1, I'll declare an interest.
Thank you. Any other interests? No? Thank you. Ordinary meeting, item 2.1, ordinary meeting of council, April 28, 2020. Does any councillor have any concerns regarding the accuracy of the minutes? In that case, could I have somebody to move the motion, please? Councillor Robinson?
That the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held Tuesday 28th of April 2020 at 2 p.m. be confirmed as a true and correct record.
Thank you. Somebody to second? Councillor Churchill, put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. Item 2.2, could I have a, oh, sorry, item 2.2. Are there any concerns regarding the accuracy of the minutes? Sorry, Deputy Mayor Woods.
Yes, thank you. I have requested this several times. Are we on the, sorry, my apologies here. Special meeting of council 8. No, the wrong one. I had the wrong one. Sorry.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll have somebody to move a motion, please. Councillor Brini. Councillor Brini, you're on mute.
Sorry, Councillor. I move that the minutes of the special meeting of council held Friday, 8 May 2020 at 7 p.m. be confirmed as a true and correct record.
Thank you. Somebody to second. Councillor Robinson, put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. And item 2.3. Does any councillor have any concerns regarding the accuracy? Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you. Sorry about the confusion with that. There's lots of paper here this time. With regards to the presents and apologies, I am noted as an apology, which I was, but I have asked many times for my apologies to be noted that they are due to work commitments, and I would really appreciate that to be noted in if I'm not there for whatever reason. I'd like my apologies to be noted for that reason. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. In the past, we haven't done that. Does any councillor have any issue with a reason being put next to an apology? You know, is there any reason, any problems with that? No. And
No.
Acting General Manager, do you see any issue? No. Okay, so let's start.
Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Arnold.
I just would like to put the same comment as Deputy Mayor, because I couldn't attend that meeting, that special meeting on the 15th, because I had another board meeting commitment, and I think it's probably only fair that that's actually recorded that I was at another board meeting, because otherwise it kind of gives the impression to the community that we just didn't want to go to the meeting.
Yeah, sure. No problem. And then therefore probably would want to be doing that in the, so these are the minutes obviously, in the workshops too. So if, as we get to those, if we can make any amendments requested there, that'd be good. So could I have somebody to move a motion, please? Deputy Mayor?
Yes, I'll move that the minutes of the special meeting of council held Friday the 15th of May 2020 at 2 p.m. being confirmed as a true and correct record.
Time out. Okay. Councillor Arnold?
Sorry, point of order, I'm not sure that the Deputy Mayor can actually move the motion about the
No,
accuracy.
if I'm not there.
She wasn't at the meeting.
Mm.
She can vote on the accuracy after the councillors have determined that.
Yep.
I can't move.
Good pickup. Councillor Brenny?
In that case, I move that the minutes of the special meeting of council held 15th of May 2020 at 2 p.m. be confirmed as a true and correct record.
Thank you, Councillor Brenny. Somebody to second that, please. Councillor Browning? Put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. During this period where we're doing a fair bit of toing and froing, can you just all come off mute? That'd be really good. Okay, now we've got item 2.4. It's it's workshops held. There is a recommendation on page 8. There was workshops held on the 7th of May, 12th of May, 14th of May. Before we go into moving and seconding, can we have any changes you wish to? Apologies on page 7. There was no apologies. There was an apology on the 7th of May. Councillor Simons, you'd like to put work commitments? Who's still on mute. There was nothing on the 12th of May, no apologies. And on the 14th of May, Councillor Simons would be work commitments and Councillor Arnold would be, what words would you like, Councillor Arnold?
I had a medical appointment that day.
Is that what you'd like to be written?
Personal, whatever. I had to go to Hobart for a medical appointment, if you remember.
Yeah, I do. What words would what words would you like to be used?
I think just a personal matter. I don't know. I don't quite know what to put there, to be honest. I mean, I'm happy to say that I had a dental appointment on the day, but just personal would be personal reasons, family reasons.
Okay.
Personal reasons would be appropriate, I think.
Sure. Okay, so could I have a motion, please? Councillor Arnold?
I'll move that council notes the information in agenda item 2.4, workshops held.
Thank you. Somebody to second, please. Councillor Simons, put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. Item 3. Under Regulation 25 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations 2015, I hereby declare that the Council is now acting as a planning authority under the provisions of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993 for Section 3 of the agenda. Motion, please. Councillor Churchill.
The council now acts as a planning authority at 2:15 p.m.
Thank you. And somebody to second, please. Councillor Browning. Put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Simons. Sorry, Councillor Robinson, you were up, weren't you? Your hand was up?
Yep.
Yeah. Unanimous. Thank you. So Councillor Simons will be leaving the meeting and going into the waiting room, and we'll come back when we remember to bring him back at the end of this item. Okay, confirm that Councillor Simons has left the meeting. Item 3.1 is Development Application 2020/45. There is a recommendation on page 24. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Churchill.
I move that pursuant to section 57 of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993, the Glamorgan Spring Bay Interim Planning Scheme 2015 and Planning Directive number 6, Exemption and Standards for Visitor Accommodation in Planning Schemes, Development Application 2020/45 to construct a visitor accommodation unit at 10 Jetty Road, Bicheno, CT 157333/1 be approved with the following conditions 1 to 19 and general notes and advice A to G.
Thank you. Could I have somebody to second, please? Councillor Browning? The mover wish to speak to his motion.
Yes, please, Mayor. Just to acknowledge the point, or to make sure that everyone's clear on the point, as our planner has pointed out, that this is very similar to the original application that was put into us several months ago, and that we do recognise that this is in fact a part of that same development application, and we would still expect that this isn't in some way going to undermine any further development that might be coming, because this would appear to be stage one of a greater development. And I would just like it to be noted that at least we as council are aware of that fact, so that we are not sidelined, I guess, if a similar application comes through again for the rest of that development. Thank you.
Councillor Browning?
Through the Mayor, could I ask Ms Bevilacqua a question, please?
Yes, sure.
Oh,
yes, you're right now.
On in the attachments in the on page 5 of it's got some overshadowing that goes onto the adjoining vacant land. I'm just wondering, is that within the limit, or is, if somebody builds there, is that going to, I know they haven't built there, but I just sort of, it's a question, is that okay?
Yes, the overshadowing doesn't occur until after 3 in midwinter, and it's only over a portion over that southwestern corner of the lot, and there's a lot of area that potential owners of that number 12 are able to build and be outside of that overshadowing.
Thank you.
So it's not considered a detrimental impact.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I was just wondering with regards to the conditions, point 4 is the maximum occupancy at any one time for visitor accommodation use shall not exceed 2 people. Is it possible that it could say the maximum occupancy at any one time for visitor accommodation must not exceed 2 people, because the must not in the act under the act of interpretation means that it's mandatory. It's just a question through you to the planner, if that's possible.
I don't see a reason why we can't change that word.
Thank you.
Should I consider it changed?
No. Councillor Churchill, do you have any issue with that?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Councillor Browning? Now consider it changed once we vote on it, but yes, once we've got the permission of the mover and the seconder. Does anyone else wish to speak? No. Oh, sorry, Councillor Breeny.
Thank you, Mayor. I was particularly interested in the obvious setting of the structure within the 4.5 metre setback, and I'd like, if I could, through the Mayor, if the planner could just give me a briefing as to the logic behind considering that the performance criteria has been satisfied, in the fact that Well, I'd like it to come from the planner if Ms. Babaleko can help, please.
Yes, so the 4.5 metre setback from lot 12 is the acceptable solution. It doesn't meet that acceptable solution, so it has the opportunity to satisfy the alternative performance criteria.
Mm-hmm.
That performance criterion is written out on page 18 of the report. And the performance criteria, P3, is with the one that it needs to meet. It talks about not causing unreasonable loss of amenity by reduction in sunlight to an habitable room. So that one doesn't apply because there's no dwelling on number 12. So P3A1 doesn't apply. P3A2 also doesn't apply for the same reason, because it's vacant, there's no dwelling on there. So there's no private open space allocated to the dwelling. P3A3 applies because it's a vacant lot next door. Because it shows, the shadow diagrams show that shading doesn't happen until after 3 in winter and only to a portion of the lot. And I've considered that to satisfy the objective of that performance criterion, that So basically I've said that it won't unreasonably overshadow that lot, that vacant lot, because it does only shade that corner in midwinter, and then it's only that one corner. So that's been my consideration, I guess, to say that that's not unreasonable. The visual impacts, it is 4 metres high, but a future dwelling on lot 12 would be facing out towards the bay, so it wouldn't be looking west towards that accommodation unit. So I'm considering that wouldn't be a detrimental visual impact. And the separation between dwellings, we can't really say until a dwelling is put on that number 12.
Yes.
But there's quite a lot of land at number 12 where a dwelling could go and not be close to the visitor accommodation unit on number 10. So I've considered, for that reason, that that criterion is satisfied. And there is a range. There's some very small distances between houses, particularly in Jetty Road, amongst the 2, 4 and 6 Jetty Road, and there's some other areas around that 27 dwelling area where there are large separation distances between dwellings. So there's a real range. So I've considered that it's not, that it is compatible with the existing distances between dwellings. Is that what you wanted me to talk about?
That has covered it perfectly. Thank you, Ms. Babalakwa. Through the Mayor, the reason that I was inquiring was because that formed a fairly loud part of representations that were received. And although I was aware of the response, I just needed to have it clarified to me as to just exactly what the report was intending to show. And it intends to show, of course, that regardless of the fact that it's within the 4.5 setback, it's able to satisfy the performance criteria, which is, you know, going to satisfy me that I will be supporting this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Arnold, did you wish to speak? No? Okay, if there's no further debate, Councillor Churchill, do you wish to close debate? No. Well, I'll put the motion. All those for? These are unanimous. Thank you. Unanimous, sorry, except Councillor Simons. So that would be Mayor Wisby, Councillors Browning, Robinson, Breeny, Arnold, Churchill and Deputy Mayor Woods. Thank you. Motion's carried. Could you let Councillor Simons back in, please? Welcome back. Councillor Simons, that motion went through unanimous support. Carried. Under Regulation 25 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations 2015, I hereby declare that the Council is no longer acting as a planning authority under the provisions of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993 for Section 3 of the agenda. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Breeny.
I move that council no longer act as a planning authority at 2:28 p.m.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Deputy Mayor, put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to item 4, public question time, 4.1. So my understanding is a question has been received. The Acting General Manager will read that question and provide a response.
This question has come from Karen Tantara. She is from the Australian Services Union. And her question is, I note with disappointment that Council has limited the number of questions that Mr de la Tour can ask on notice to 2, as is the case with questions without notice. Limiting the number of questions that can be asked only leads to lesser accountability. Can Council please provide a reason for limiting the number of questions that the public can ask on notice, as the legislation and regulations provide for no such ability, and I can find no records of any such limit having applied to any other person in the past. Question 2. And secondly, I too am interested in an answer to Mr de la Tour's question on notice. Could the members of the Section 24 Statement of Expectations Committee please explain how employees should feel protected by the final Statement of Expectations, or how they can feel understood, given that their very frank and honest input to interviews with Mr Priest was never reported on in any of the committee meetings, and with comments such as those made by Ms Masons in Council's April Council meeting showing that even at the end of this 6-month ordeal, those intimately involved in the committee to address these concerns and the setting of the Statement of Expectations still have no idea what the original issues were or why ratepayers' money has been spent on such a statement being developed in the first place. And the questions will be taken on notice.
So the Acting General Manager is taking those questions on notice. There's no further questions without notice received? No, thank you. Item 4.2 is questions on notice. So I'm going to read the question and the Acting General Manager will read the response. This question from Mr Aaron de la Tour of the ASU. And the question is, I note the passing of a motion to adopt Council's draft Statement of Expectations and the discussion around this matter at Council's special meeting held on 9 April 2020. As all but Councillor Robinson were in office at the time, most should remember that issues between councillors and managers were first raised via email to all councillors on 12 December 2018. Given the manager's request for mediation was ignored by councillors, complaints around these types of issues have been made to the Director and Minister on numerous occasions since the first of these was lodged in January 2019. Councillors are very well aware that the statement of expectations came about as a result of a suggestion from the Director of Local Government following the multiple complaints that he and the Minister had received in relation to the conduct of specific councillors and their dealings with employees of the organisation. These issues have presented themselves since the 2018 council election. Question 1. With this in mind, could Council please seek a response from Ms Lynn Mason as to what she meant by the following comments at the 9 April 2020 meeting? Quote, I think where Council has moved in the couple of months that we've been here is from being very concerned about having the sins of the past visited on the children of the present. There was a feeling amongst many of the councillors, some of whom have only been there a short time, relatively speaking, that because of problems in the past with council and heritage of practices, the blame could be placed on those people who are now holding office. Many of these actions were not done by people in this room. They weren't even on council at the time. I think there has been broad recognition that as a statement of good behaviour, then that's what this is. Response, please.
So we did seek a response from Lynn Mason. Some of the problems which have beset the council have their roots in practices which started before November 2018. These problems were not confined to employee-councillor relationships, and some of the current councillors were not on the council before November 2018 or had been on council for only a short time. They may have been justified in considering that the SOE, Statement of Expectations, was an attempt to fix problems which they did not create. These councillors may still think that, within signing this document, they have accepted that the statement encapsulates good behaviour in elected office and in the role of General Manager, and they have expressed willingness to try to improve relationships within Glamorgan Spring Bay Council. They are looking forward. They are also aware that most of the content of the statement deals with interactions which are not specifically in legislation.
Question 2. Could Council please explain what they understand the ramifications are of any breaches of this voluntary, seemingly non-binding and unenforceable statement of expectations?
The Statement of Expectations Committee met only a few days ago to consider this question. These matters have not yet been decided.
And question 3 is, and could the members of the committee please explain how employees should feel protected by it or even understood, given their very frank and honest input in interviews with Mr. Priest was never reported on in any of the Section 24 Statement of Expectations committee meetings, and with comments such as Ms Mason's above showing that even at the end of the 6-month ordeal, those immediately involved in the committee to address these concerns and the setting of the Statement of Expectations still have no idea what the original issues were or why ratepayers' money has been spent on such a statement being developed in the first place.
Glamorgan Spring Bay Council's public question time policy clearly restricts questions to a maximum of 2.
So I did have a note there inviting Mr Delatour to put forward his third question to the next council meeting, but as you've already heard, that's come through under item 4.1. Moving on to item 5. Financial reports for the period ending 30 April 2020. We'll go through this by page again. Are there any questions from on page 30 or 31? 31, 32? Oh, I just said 31 twice, sorry. 30, 32, 33. 34, 35. Councillor Arnold?
Thank you. My question is on page 34, the Swanwick Dog Exercise Yards. If the project is 80% complete and the invoices received to date are $19,485, does this mean that the project is approximately $3,500 over budget? Simple mathematics says that 80% of $20,000 is $16,000. If it is $3,500 over the budget, how is the overspend going to be funded? The Trabana tennis courts are 80% complete. If that is the case, then this project is $21,497 over budget. On the same page, new chairs for Bicheno Hall and Coles Bay Hall Where is the additional $3,685 coming from to fund the overspend on the chairs? Because I understood there was very little room for overspend in the budgeting of the drought relief money.
Thank you.
Through you, Mayor. So the column with the percentages is purely on-site progress, not actual dollar value invoiced or paid for. So sometimes there can be a timing difference between the two. With the drought relief, they are assessing the project as a bundle of projects up for the $1 million. So as long as we keep within the $1 million, and we're keeping a close eye on that at the moment, coming to the end of the program, then we'll be compliant with the grant. It'll obviously go through audit process as normal, but in terms of the funding and budget implications, we just need to manage that within the $1 million. So it might mean and we think some projects will be under and a couple might be slightly over, but we're keeping an eye on that.
Thank you. My other question is in relation to page 35, and that is the Orford Jetty Road. It's almost unbelievable that a project could be estimated to cost $225,601 and the invoices received to date be exactly the same. So was there any overspend on this project? And if so, where did those funds come from?
Jimmy, I'm looking at the right line on the roads to recovery. So
Orford Jetty Road, it's 200 budget estimate, which was the adopted figure, is $225,601. The invoices received to date are $225,601, and it's listed as complete.
My understanding of the project, before my time as actually general manager, but my understanding project that was a contracted project that would have gone out and done by contract. And I know during the year there was a variation to when we got the additional roads to recovery funding, there was a rejig of the allocations to projects. So my understanding would be that the works manager at the time would have known exactly what that contract value was going to be.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions on 34 or 35? And moving on to page 36. Nothing. Okay, so sorry, now moving back.
Can I just ask a question, Mayor? I believe it looks like the Deputy Mayor may have dropped out of the.
Oh.
Out of it. Because she indicated that she had questions on pages 34 and 35 at the same time I did.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I couldn't see that.
I'm just wondering if she's not actually still in the system.
Yes, no, she's gone very stiff.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can get.
Still showing on my list. I might just ring her. Thank you, Josie.
Oh, I wonder if
she's there. Oh, yeah, I've lost Josie.
She's there. She's not there for us.
Oh, she's frozen.
Mm.
Will you just hold on?
That'll be the phone.
Just a sec.
Hello. Are you Josie? I'm not sure if she's in Cheryl. Cheryl's on the phone. I'll just put you back on speaker so you can.
Mayor Westby, this is Deputy Mayor Woods. She's realised she's dropped out. I'll just put her on speaker. I don't know whether you'll be able to. Deputy Mayor, I indicated to Mayor Westby that you had indicated at the time you had questions on page 34, 35 of the agenda. That's how we figured out you'd dropped out.
Yes, that's correct.
Now, I don't know that, no, you're probably not going to be able to hear.
How about I ring Deputy Mayor on my phone and put her on speaker and see if that'll come through better?
Now, I've got her on speaker here, but I don't think it's working. It's not
Coming back.
Yeah, she's trying to join back into the meeting, Mayor. So,
yeah.
All right, Deputy Mayor, I'll hang up.
Thank you.
Okay, you're back. Welcome. Oh, she's nearly back. And off mute.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. My connection here is a bit dicky at the minute.
There certainly is.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, where is it? Yeah, sorry, I've lost where I was going, what I was going to do, where I was going to.
Page 30.
Oh, yes, page 34. Sorry, Tribunal club rooms can, through you, Mayor, to acting general manager, the install catchment nets for window protection. Has that safety issue been sorted?
Through you, Matt, I will need to follow up to confirm to be able to give a definite answer.
Thank you. And that's all I have at this. Yeah, that's all I have on that page. Those pages.
On any of those pages?
Yep.
Thank you. So there is a recommendation on page 30. If there's no further questions, could I have a motion, please? Councillor Brini?
I move that council receives and notes the financial reports as attached to this report for the period ended 30th April 2020.
Thank you. And somebody to second, please. Deputy Mayor? No further comment. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to item 6.1, which is the late report item. There is a recommendation, and could I have a motion, please? Councillor Browning? Off mute, please, Councillor Browning.
That the minutes of the Statement of Expectation Committee meeting held on the 22nd of May 2020 be received and noted.
Thank you. Somebody to second, please. Councillor Churchill. Any comment? No. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. Item 6.2, which is a late report item, report and recommendations from the Statement of Expectations Special Committee meeting number 4. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Brini?
I move that Council 1 authorises the Mayor to approach the Director of Local Government, Mr Craig Limkin, regarding his letter dated the 13th of May 2020 and ask the Director to consider engaging the Division's own independent advisor at its cost to create its report. And 2, authorises the Mayor to invite the Director of Local Government to address Council on his expectations for the process for implementation of this Statement of Expectations up until September 2020. 3, continues to engage independent advisors to assist with this process as necessary. 4, amends the term of reference of the Statement of Expectations Committee to include the following. ... The committee is to undertake the task of supporting and monitoring the implementation of the Statement of Expectations. ... The Statement of Expectations Committee is to provide regular reports to Council on progress. And ... The Statement of Expectations Committee is to provide a report on the effectiveness of the Statement of Expectations to Council at its September meeting, recommending that the report be endorsed and forwarded to the Director.
Thank you. Could I have somebody to second, please? Councillor Churchill. Councillor Brenny, would you like to speak to your motion?
I think it's important that we progress this in accordance with directions and advice. One issue that definitely needs to be addressed is the fact that the Director of Local Government requested that we undertake a second report, which was for local government. I believe that with this motion, we're placing the responsibility for an independent report to local government with local government, the Department of Local Government, rather than having council be imposted with two reports, one for council and one for local government. The other thing that I just wondered if there could be comment upon is item 3 of my recommendation, correction. Item 4.2, where I move that the Statement of Expectations Committee is to provide regular reports to Council on progress, whether or not councillors think that in this motion we should actually set a period. Apart from that, I'll be supporting this.
What are you proposing in respect to a period, Councillor Brenny?
I would be open to suggestions, but I'm not sure whether regular is too open-ended. As to a solution to that, I don't really have a suggestion, which means maybe I shouldn't have brought it up. But certainly, you know, as long as councillors are happy that the word regular can be enforced, then I'm happy to leave the motion as I've stated it.
I think the word regular there means between now and September, because that's sort of like the commitment to where we're proposing now to go to. And then in September, there'd be another assessment done as to what would happen. Will there be a recommendation put back to the council by the SOE? So at this point, it's sort of only tracking through to September, and it'll be regular updates from now until then. Does that answer your question, Councillor Brenny?
Not necessarily. It still leaves the word regular. Maybe the word timely might be more appropriate.
Okay, so you would wish to put the word timely in there?
Yes, remove regular and put timely.
Okay, and Councillor Churchill, any issue with that?
No problem at all. That's fine by me. I mean, I think the implication of it is that there will be some reports between now and September. That's really, I think, what it implies. So I don't mind either term. That's fine. Thank you.
Councillor Arnold?
I thought what Councillor Brenny was asking for was an actual timeline. So something along the lines of that there will be monthly reports at a minimum. So that the Statement of Expectations Committee must produce a report for each ordinary council meeting, for example, between now and September. So it'll be like June, July, August. Did I misunderstand that, Councillor Brenny? If I may, Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Councillor. Yeah, I'm not sure whether monthly or bi-monthly or something like that, but it just the word regular doesn't gel with me. I prefer to have a timeline, whether it's timely, in other words, when expected, or I'd like to ask the acting general manager whether or not there was an opinion that she has with regard to whether monthly reports are too frequent.
I would have thought that the main thing is that they're provided in a timely manner after the committee meets, that you're getting that it's not a delayed feedback. It's going to be pretty hard for the committee to report back if the committee haven't met. So whether it's once, you know, in principle agreement, to the minutes or the outcomes or the recommendation is achieved from the committee, that then they're circulated to councillors in a timely manner. Is that kind of answer your question?
Thank you. Thank you. Through the Mayor, thank you. Look, I'm quite happy just leaving it timely. I assume the committee will be working on it, and timely gives us the opportunity to ask the question. If we consider it too slow, we have the right to say we wanted these timely and we need them. And it doesn't force them to have to work to a timeline that doesn't suit their meetings. Mind you, it'd be nice to not to have to deal with that sort of thing, but if it's supposed to be finalised by September, it's pretty obvious that timely means before September, and certainly reports. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, anyone wish to speak against the motion? For the motion? Coming back to Councillor Brady, then would you wish to close debate?
No, thank you. I've said enough.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? That's thank you. Unanimous. Thank you. Item 7.1, Soldiers Memorial Screen at the Bicheno RSL Club. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Simons.
I move that council consents to a development application for a memorial screen at 78 Burgess Street, Bicheno, in brackets Bicheno Memorial Hall.
Thank you. Somebody to second. Councillor Arnold. Mover wish to speak to the motion?
Other than it'll be a nice little addition to that area, and we've already approved a grant, so I don't see why we wouldn't keep moving with this.
And the seconder?
Yeah, fine.
Anyone wish to speak against the motion? For the motion? Councillor Breeny.
Thank you, Mayor. I was approached by certain people in relation to asking the question as to why it's taken so long for council to deal with this issue. I explained to those people that there is a process that you have to follow, and they assumed that in being given the grant that was given as a community small grant, that that was all that had to be done and they'd be putting it up. When I explained to them that every development requires a development application and a planning permit, and that council is required to approve anything on their property or their land that they control, at least manage, they were quite surprised at that, but they were satisfied, and I think I've held them back for a while, and hopefully their application is a proper application and we can look at it then. But they were very pleased to be given the information, considering they were a bit anxious when they started. Thank you. I'll be supporting this.
Thank you. Any further debate? Ms Waters, maybe if there's a community development grant put forward going forward, that can be made clear on council land straight up that there is a process. That would probably be good. Okay, does the mover wish to close debate? Councillor Simons?
No, all said. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Put the motion. All those for? That is unanimous. Thank you. Item 7.2, recommendation on page 42. Could I have sorry, I'll just say multiple dwellings by 8 plus 2 existing at 70 Tasman Highway, Bicheno. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Breeny?
I move that council consents to lodge the application for 8 new dwellings at 70 Tasman Highway, Bicheno.
Thank you. Somebody to second? Deputy Mayor, does the mover wish to speak?
No, it's self-explanatory.
Thank you. The seconder?
No, thank you, Mayor. As Councillor Breeny said, it's self-explanatory.
A councillor speak against the motion? For the motion? No further debate? Councillor Breeny, do you wish to close debate?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Excuse me.
Time out. Okay. Councillor Arnold.
It's not actually a timeout, Mayor, but I think it's just the next agenda item 7.3. It's just occurred to me that I probably should have declared a conflict of interest in that. I'm Vice President of the RSL sub branch, so I think it's inappropriate for me to actually vote on this matter.
Thank you. So you'd like to declare an interest and go to the waiting room?
I would. Thank you.
Okay. And Deputy Mayor, did you?
I'm cold, so I just need to go and put the heater on and get a blanket.
We'll
So-
just wait for you.
Thanks.
Speaking of cold, can you put the heater in here? Because I've just got cold too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7.3, Tribunna RSLA Club Room proposed extension. There is a recommendation on page 44. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
I move that Council consents to lodge the application for extensions to the Tribunna RSLA club rooms. I would say RSL club rooms.
RSL, take off the A. Thank Tribunna RSL club rooms, yes. Somebody do second, please. Councillor Browning, would the mover wish to speak to their motion?
No, thank you, Mayor, other than to say that the minutes do actually reflect that the motion is Tribunna RSL club rooms.
Sure.
Thank you.
Councillor Browning as a seconder, do you wish to speak? No. Does any councillor wish to speak against the motion? For the motion? Any further debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. If Councillor Arnold could be returned to the room. You return, Councillor Arnold, back, and that motion was unanimous support.
Thank you. Very much appreciated, councillors.
Okay, item 7.4, electric vehicle charging station, Noy Street, Swansea. There is a recommendation on page 47. A motion, please. Councillor Brenny.
Off mute.
Oh, off mute, Councillor Brenny. Can you turn that down?
I move that Council consents to lodge development application for an electric vehicle charging station in Noyes Street, Swansea.
Councillor Brenny, I made a note here as shown in this agenda item or something, just because it just sort of says in Noy Street.
Can I add to my motion, as indicated in, I'm looking for a plan number of the diagram that shows exactly where it goes in Noyes Street, as shown in the diagram on page 46. Can that be added to my motion?
All right, as shown in the diagram on page 45?
46.
46.
Yes.
Of this agenda.
Of this agenda, thank you. Yes, please.
This keeps on getting longer. And could I have somebody to second that motion, please? Councillor Simons. Ms Waters, can you just check if the Executive Officer has that?
Josie, did you get those amendments to the motion? Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Would the speaker wish to, sorry, would the mover wish to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, this proposal was flagged probably 12 months ago or more. We had some submissions from Electric Vehicles Australia, etc. It looks as though Electric Highway Tasmania Proprietary Limited has come up with a proposal that thankfully has no budget implications for council, and is going to provide a service in Swansea that some people have been waiting for quite some time, and an environmental plus for this municipality. Thank you.
Thank you. The second, which is Councillor Simons, do you wish to speak?
I'd just echo Councillor Brini's thoughts there. It's a great initiative.
Any councillor wish to speak against the motion? For the motion? Is there any further debate? And I would just like to ask a question. It appears to be two pretty prime positions for parking, and there is a lack of parking in Swansea at the really busy times of the year for those few months. It is right sort of in the heart of Swansea. When I've been there, that area has often had vehicles parked there. It's nice and close to the Visitor Information, the museum, and not far from the RSL artefact. And that was I've got no issue with the principle with charge stations, but my concern is the location, and we don't know how much they're going to be used, and it's like obviously nobody else will be allowed to park there. Well, the idea would be nobody just parks there. So I'm just wondering, you know, was there anywhere else in Noy Street that was possibly considered that wasn't such prime parking areas but still not too far away and would be visible? And I didn't give any notice at all to Ms Walters in respect to this at all. I do apologise, but I know Councillor Brini had something to do with it, so maybe he might be able to provide to it. Councillor Brini?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, there was considerable vetting of suitable locations, including, of course, considering the current parking situations. A couple of the criteria that are required for these sorts of things is that they're, first of all, easily findable, and secondly, that A, they're not on a major street, that is Franklin Street, the main drag of Swansea, and that there are alternate parking locations available. Now, one thing to note is on that side of the street where those bays are marked in the diagram on page 46, there are no parking bays marked. Whereas on the opposite side of the street, outside the information centre, all parking bays are marked right up the street, up to Wellington Street, I think. The reason for there not being any bays marked there is because the width of the road and the centre line marking of Noyes Street is not clear, and engineers, probably Rob will agree with this, engineers don't like the idea of not having clear delineation of trafficable lanes. When this is put in, I believe that on page 46, it states the centre line of Noyes Street will move 500 millimetres to the south, that is towards the information centre, to provide equal width carriageway for both lines of traffic. Now what that means is that people didn't like the idea of parking in this location because the centre line was squeezing the available space for passing. When this is constructed, the centre line will be marked a little closer to 500 mil closer, half a metre closer to the other side of the street, which still allows the minimum requirement for carriageway width, and parking bays outside the information centres will remain safe. And then marking lanes here for the electro charging will be an additional parking bays. In fact, bays that weren't already available. Now, cars used to park there, yes, but it was questionable as to whether it was legal to park there. The option of having alternate parking is available in the car park directly adjacent to where this is. That's the RSL car park. That's on the corner there near Artefact. and further back up the street. So yes, there are 2 bays that will be used. They are not exclusive bays to electrocharging, but as far as I'm aware, it doesn't say on those signs that nobody else is allowed to park there, but you can only park there, electric vehicles can only park there while charging. Any other vehicles probably would get the message that they're not supposed to park there anyway, but you know, it's 2 bays. There's no question about that, and there's 2 bays taken out of spaces that were originally available.
So if the thing is, I mean, we could move that centre line over at any time to create 2 spaces if people want to park there. You know what I mean? So that to me sort of, you know, we're only looking at doing it now because we want to use the spaces and mark them up. So I mean, to utilise that space, we could just move the centre line across any day and free it up and put some white lines down. So were there any other spaces, and what were they identified for suitable locations in Swansea? That's a simple question.
A lot of places were looked at. The reason I can tell you that this space has been chosen, it's very much an economic consideration, because there is a transformer on a telephone pole directly where the cabinet is located, opposite, in the middle of the 2, well, on the footpath side of the, on the park side of the footpath. In the diagram on page 46, it's mentioned new switchboard, and that's directly adjacent to a power pole that holds a transformer. The transformer is an essential item for these because they require heavy power, and there were no other locations in town where this sort of power service was able to be provided adjacent to car parking bays. Now, sure, that's an economic situation, but in this case, we probably wouldn't have got an electric charging space in Swansea. And by the way, this is a fast charge, which is very rare. We wouldn't have been able to get one because economically it wouldn't be viable until such time as they could find some other location. We did have quite a close look at other locations for parking, but none of them were as suitable as this, and most of them, including up the outside of the what is now the community hub, none of them were suitable from the point of view of economics.
Councillor Arnold?
I think there's an opportunity here to force off-street parking in the RSL car park. I think that people don't use the RSL car park because that's the little car park behind this charging station on the diagram on page 45. I don't think people use it because they don't realise that it is a parking area. So perhaps what all it needs is more specific parking signs that is a parking area, because I think there's enough room in there for about 8 vehicles. With that, I think somewhere around there. It used to be marked out at one time. The actual parking spaces used to be marked out at one time. I think that those marks have gone now. But there is significant parking available directly behind that area, and I think council has an opportunity here to actually force off-street parking by this location of this charging.
But Councillor Arnold, that's privately owned land.
I think it's been used for, oh, is it? No, I don't think it is. I think it's.
Yep, it is. Yep, it's not our land.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I always thought that it was public land and the RSL just used it.
No, the other way around. The RSL allow the public to use it.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I wasn't aware of that. I was I've always had it the other way around, that it was council land.
Yeah. Councillor Breeding.
And because of that very fact, it was pretty obvious that what would be the most simple solution would be to put the 2 charging bays in that car park, adjacent to the transformer, of course. But apparently the RSL were not happy with that. The Tasmanian RSL were not happy with that sort of impost. It has to be on a inner road reserve.
I mean, that land itself is there for the RSL to sell if they ever wish to sell it. You know, it's a saleable, you know, it would definitely limit and reduce the cost or the value of that land if it stuck a couple of car parks in there. Councillor Arnold?
Well, on that basis, then, is there any opportunity for council to suggest to the RSL that they suggest to their patrons that they actually use that car park? Because they don't use it that often, I don't think. It's just a thought.
Okay. I know this is late, but if we get something like this going forward, can we please get some sort of a report on the options, and we shouldn't need to rely on a councillor to give us a, the rationale update on this one. And again, my apologies because I didn't get back to ask all these questions, but yeah. So, okay, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Deputy Mayor Woods, Councillor Arnold, Councillor Breeny, Councillor Churchill, Councillor Simons, Councillor Robinson, Councillor Browning are all for. Against, Councillor Wisby, Mayor Wisby, whatever you want to call me. So the motion is carried. I'll just say I'm just sort of against it because I just don't, it's just where they are. I'm just not confident that everything was looked at, I didn't get it in a report. Okay, 7.5. Proposed new road name off Holcombe Court, Orford. This has been an easy one. Could we have a motion, please? Now, you would have seen an email that came out from the Acting General Manager on the 25th of May yesterday. But could we have a motion, please? Councillor Churchill? Oh, you're on mute, Councillor Churchill.
Sorry. I move that council, as the road authority, chooses the name Mace Court for the new subdivision road off Holcombe Court.
Orford.
Orford. Yes.
Thank you. And somebody just said...
Could you just repeat that for Josie?
Just to repeat slowly, please.
That council, as the road authority, chooses the name Mace Court for the new subdivision road off Holcombe Court, Orford. Got that?
Hold the line. Thank you. And somebody to second, please. Councillor Robinson. Mover wish to speak?
Yes, I do. Mayor, thank you. I just think the name is really interesting, and I was glad to get that bit of history on the name, and I think there's a couple of paragraphs there worth reading for the public record, if you would approve that.
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yes.
A bit of history that we were given, I think that was probably contributed to by a few people, but they talk about Fred Mace rented the then bought Malana from Louise Meredith, brought his family up there and lived in Orford for many years. He was Warden of Spring Bay for many years and Chief Justice of Tasmania for one time. At the end of World War I, he vigorously rang the church bell at Orford and cracked the tree it was situated in. He laid the foundation stone of the new church, St Michael's in Orford, now sold, in 1929, and he lived from 1847 to 1931. His son, Stan Mace, christened Cyril Westcote Athelston Mace, no wonder he called himself Stan, was a soldier in World War I and was wounded in France. When Stan returned from war, he settled it at Woodston at Buckland, and Stan was also a councillor in Spring Bay Municipality. I found that all very interesting and good reason for that name. Thank you.
Councillor Robertson, do you wish to speak?
Yes, I'd just reiterate what Rob said. I think it's great that particularly the Orford Primary School and other parts of our municipality have done this research, and we've identified someone who's had a significant input into the community in the past, and I think that's a great reason for choosing a name such as Mace, that person, when people do their research, they'll find out some of that information that Rob's put forward. And yes, I'd fully support it.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against the motion? For the motion? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to ask the question about the developer, where he came up, whether there's any reason that he came up with Cocoa Court. Do we know how that came about, or is there a specific reason why he proposed that name?
Through you, Mayor. The advice we had from the planning officer was it was named after their dog. That's why we didn't think it was appropriate in meeting the criteria.
Yes, Deputy Mayor.
If I may, that's that's not the first time this has happened. We have a court in Orford called Murphy Court after the developer's dog. So we did start something there.
Yes, yes. So there appears to be no further comment. So could your words, your email or whatever you want of it, be included in the agenda as the history to this name? Because that also needs to be submitted to the Nominative Board in support of the name and why Council endorsed it. I'd also like to thank Miss Mary Ann Pike at the Orford School for her assistance in doing a lot of reading for me one night and coming back with this information. And I think it's also possibly an opportune time to ask the Acting General Manager if she could write to the Historic Society, and this has been brought up before but just sort of not actioned, and request some sort of history for each area. Maybe it's a project they might be able to do to get together some history on the different areas in the municipality that would be options for road naming. Obviously, you know, some of the options may go as time goes on because the name may be picked up in a neighbouring municipality or whatever, but at least would have some options, and those options then might be able to be sent out to the developers once they're confirmed at the time that they're okay under the rules of the Nominative Board. But it'd be really good. I've had a brief conversation with Peter Hootenmeyer about this, and he was quite excited at the thought of doing such a project for council. But I think it would give some really good historic names that would be worthy for street names rather than the name of the dog. Does anyone have any issue with that? No?
No.
So we don't need to move it as a motion, but I mean, I think Ms Walders would take that on. Councillor Brenny?
I'd just like to support what you're saying, Mayor. I did forward, after I had a look at some of the emails that were progressed in this, and since my name was brought up in relation to it, I clarified the issue with the Acting General Manager and the planner. And my suggestion was very similar to what you have just said, and I'll read it. It says, given the email trail generated here, it would seem timely that Council examines the...
Councillor Brenny. Councillor Arnold? Are you on mute, Councillor Arnold?
Point of order, Mayor. There's been new information brought into this matter, and if you might recall that Ms Mason was very critical of me doing that in a meeting a little while ago. So I think this is additional information that's been brought into this agenda item that's not relevant to this particular agenda item at this point.
Okay. I think what Councillor Brenny is referring to is the background to this agenda item, and I think we get the general idea, Councillor Brenny, that it'd be good to get a list of names from the Historic Society so we're not in this position again going forward on this particular item where it's been a lot of angst and scurrying around trying to get things sorted at a late item, you know, basically at a really late stage. So that was the purpose of my comment about sort of getting it sort of going forward. And I think Councillor Brennan, you was just reinforcing that. That's something you think is good too. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So sorry, I've just lost my spot. We've moved the motion, Councillor Churchill, seconded by Councillor Robinson. I got to the end there, nobody else wished to speak. Does the mover wish to close? No. I'll put the motion, all those for the motion. That is unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to item 7.6, Memorandum of Understanding. Motion, please. Councillor Simons?
I move that the council authorises the acting general manager to execute the memorandum of understanding for the Southern Tasmanian Waste Management Group.
Oh, okay, sorry, thank you. And somebody to second, please. Councillor Browning, mover, do you wish to speak?
No.
Thank you. The seconder? No. Anyone wish to speak against the motion? For the motion? No further. Councillor Arnold? Ready to vote? Okay. There's no further debate. I'll put the motion. All those for? That's unanimous. Thank you. Item 7.7, submission strategic plan. There is a recommendation on page 51. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Browning? Off mute. Thank you.
I move that council adopts the Glamorgan Spring Bay Council 10-year strategic plan 2020 to 2029 as attached in this report and acknowledge the submissions received.
And thank you. Somebody to second, please. Sorry, Deputy Mayor Woods. Would the mover wish to speak to the motion?
All I'd like to say is that it's great to see that it's finished, and I'm looking forward to getting it out.
Great, thank you. The seconder, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I concur with Councillor Browning. I was wondering though, if there, I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, if we've actually acknowledged the people. I know we've acknowledged them within the report, or the plan, I should say. But should we acknowledge the people who gave up their weekends to, I mean, publicly with regards to this? I was wondering if you'd put possibly acknowledges and thanks all those involved in making this report.
Okay, so it sort of acknowledges the submissions received and thanks all those involved in the production of this document.
Yes.
Something like that?
Yes.
And thanks all those involved in the production of the document. So, Councillor Browning, do you have any issue with that?
No.
Do we have those words?
Are you okay, Josie?
Okay, so that's fine. Deputy Mayor,
thank you. Thank you.
You wish to say anything further?
No, thank you. Other than to say, oh, sorry, yes, I would like to. Other than to also say and acknowledge the person who helped us with this, Mr. Flower, and his passing. So, you know, there's a bit going on with this strategic plan, but we finally got it done. And yeah, that's all I'd like to do.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak against the motion? For the motion? So I would like to also acknowledge Graham Flower for his work. He did wonderful community consultation when we went around for the few days. Very approachable. He knew how to use good words and he knew how to explain things really well. So he was great, and it was very sad that that he passed away. I'd also like to thank staff and Di Bricknell for all her efforts in pulling this document together. Obviously many hours and tweaks and backwards and forwards. So yes, just acknowledge Di and her efforts on this. And that's all I need to say. So does the mover wish to close debate? No. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to item 7.8, adoption of the 2021 rates resolution and fees. There is a recommendation. Could I have a motion, please, Councillor Arnold?
I move that by council by absolute majority, 1, adopts the 2020-21 fees and charges as presented in the attachments to the 26th of May 2020 agenda, and 2, adopts the 2020-2021 rates resolution as presented in the attachments to the 26th May 2020 agenda.
Okay, Ms Waters, can you just ensure that the date was put in there? Yes, thank you. And somebody to second, please. Councillor Breeny, does the mover wish to speak?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. The seconder? No. Anyone wish to speak against the motion? For the motion? You don't wish to close, Councillor Arnold?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Item 7.9. Could I have a motion? Oh, sorry, that is the commercial addendum to financial hardship assistance model policy. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Breeny?
I move that council by absolute majority, subject to Treasury approval, authorise the acting general manager to take out an additional loan up to 1.5 million.
Oh, sorry,
financial.
Councillor Breeny. time.
Oh, sorry. Are we on 7.9?
Yes, I'd flicked over too. So I was reading with you, so that's okay. Let's go back to a different one. Page 53.
Yeah. Thank you. I move that council adopts the Glamorgan Spring Bay Council commercial addendum to financial hardship assistance model policy as presented effective the 26th of May 2020.
Excellent. Could I have somebody to second, please? Councillor Robinson? Councillor Breeny, do you wish to speak to your motion?
No.
No. Councillor Robinson?
No.
No. Anyone against? For put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Item 7.10, approval for new loan. Could I have a motion, please, Councillor Breeny?
Yes. Thank you. This time, I move that council by absolute majority, subject to Treasury approval, authorise the acting general manager to take out an additional loan up to $1.5 million in the current financial year for general operation purposes.
Operational, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody to second, please. Councillor Churchill, do you wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Breeny?
It's self-explanatory in the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Churchill? Anyone wish to speak against the motion? For the motion? Put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. 7.11, Memorandum of Understanding, Local Government Association of Tasmania funding. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Robinson?
That council authorise the acting general manager to enter into the Memorandum of Understanding with the Local Government Association for their contribution of $15,000 towards asset management plans, strategy and policy, and an integrated 10-year financial plan as presented in the attachment to this agenda item.
Thanks, Councillor Robinson. I'm just, Councillor Arnold?
I was just going to second the motion, but if I think it should just say to the, in the 26th May 2020 agenda. Should it not?
Yeah. Are you happy with that, Councillor Robinson?
Yes. Yes. Yep.
And I'm just sort of wondering, should it also say that that the general manager or someone writes to the LGAD and thanks them for their assistance? Because this was well and truly out of date, this funding. This was from years ago, and this was a special allocation just for us. So I'm just wondering, Councillor Robinson, do you wish to maybe consider some words that
Okay.
that the general manager writes to the CEO of LGAT and thanks them for their contribution?
Probably at the end there. Yeah.
Yep.
The acting general manager writes to LGAT, Local Government Association of Tasmania, and thanks them for the opportunity to enter into a memorandum of understanding.
And their financial contribution.
And for their financial contribution, yep.
Thank you, because that's the thing that we really like is their money. And Councillor Arnold, do you have any issue with that?
No, I think that goes without saying. Should happen.
Let's just check.
Josie, did you get those words?
So that, Councillor Robinson, do you have it again?
Well, I probably haven't got that last bit, but we wanted to
just hold on a minute.
And financial contribution?
Yeah.
Yeah, and financial contribution. Yep. Good. You heard that?
Just.
Yep. It was basically what we said. Okay, Councillor Arnold's okay. You don't wish to speak to your motion, Councillor Robinson?
No.
Councillor Arnold?
Can I just clarify that the wording of Councillor Robinson's last bit was that the acting general manager writes to LGAT to acknowledge and thank. No, that the acting general manager acknowledges and thanks LGAT for this financial contribution. It's worded.
Is that what Miss?
We've got acknowledges in there, Josie. Yes, it's
Yep.
been added.
Hold on. Can you say it again, please?
Oh, I just.
No, not you, Cheryl. Sorry, Councillor Arnold. I'll get Miss Higgins to say it again.
So after the 26th of May 2000 agenda, we added, and the acting general manager writes to the Local Government Association of Tasmania and thanks them for their assistance and financial contribution.
Yep.
Yes.
Good.
Yes. That's fine.
Good. Okay. Anyone wish to speak against the motion or the motion? Put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to 7.12, application for grant funding roads and bridges. We have a motion, please. Councillor Arnold.
Council authorises the acting general manager to 1, submit an application for funding as follows: a $130,000 grant to replace Ribbon Road Bridge under the Commonwealth Bridge Replacement Program, $125,000 to resheet a portion of Ribbon Road under the Commonwealth Heavy Vehicle Safety and Productivity Program, and 2, execute any forthcoming grant deeds in line with applications for funding in this agenda item 7.12 of the 26 May agenda.
Okay, so just confirming that Ms Higgins got that at the end of that item 2 was in this agenda item 7.12 of the 26th of the 5th 20 agenda. Yep, that's been done.
Thank you.
Somebody to second, please. Councillor Browning, does the mover wish to speak?
No, except to say we need to get as much of this funding as we possibly can.
Great. Seconder? Anyone wish to speak against? Oh, sorry, Councillor Browning, wasn't it? Was that Browning? Sorry, I wrote down Browning and said Browning. So sorry, Councillor Browning.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, yeah, I agree with Councillor Arnold, and it'd be really good to get this funding to get on with fixing
Sure.
up with your own.
Okay, anyone wish to speak against the motion? For the motion? Put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. 7.13, rain, storm, flooding, responsibilities and actions. There is a recommendation on page 63. I think we'll just wait to see. If there are any questions, we can get Mr. Galea on the phone to answer the questions and include him in the meeting if needed. So there is a recommendation on page 63. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Churchill? Yeah.
I move that the Glamorgan Spring Bay Council provide/acquire funds to a value of up to $500,000 to 1. Allow preparation of a stormwater management plan in accordance with the Urban Drainage Act 2013 for the defined urban areas. 2. Allow on-site inspections that may identify simple or low-cost solutions for inclusion in an immediate action plan. 3. Also allow identification/confirmation of key causes of the flooding and solutions, or where the technical solution is not immediately obvious, then identification of further analysis and design to be considered for prioritisation and inclusion into a long-term stormwater improvement plan as part of the stormwater management plan mentioned above. And 4, implement the immediate action plan. 2, that for the preparation of the stormwater management plan, that the template and resources of the Local Government Association of Tasmania and Institute of Public Works Engineering of Australia be utilised, including seconding an experienced local government practitioner to assist in preparation of the SMP. And 3, that to undertake the on-site inspections to facilitate, I think it's meant to be 1-1 and 1-2 above, that a consultant with the direct experience in local government stormwater management be engaged. In that part, sorry, you're on mute, Debbie.
I know. Sorry, did you want to say, sorry, Councillor Arnold? You're on mute, Councillor Arnold.
Point of order, Mayor. There's too many Christian names being used here. We really do need to start using titles.
My apologies.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I missed that myself. We're trying to get some lights off here. No worries. So, yeah, just use titles if we can just remember that. That'd be great. Councillor Churchill, did you wish to say something at the end of engaged? Did you say something there?
It's just that I just wanted to make sure that correction, I think I've got that correction right there, haven't I, on point 3, that it refers to the point 1-1 and point 1-2 in the first part.
Okay. Okay, Councillor Brady, were you seconding that?
Did you call for seconders?
Oh, sorry, you just put up your hand, so I just thought you must have. Do you wish to second?
Yes, I'm happy to second.
Thank you. Does the mover wish to speak?
Yes, I do, just briefly. I just think that this is such a clear report, and there's been so much work gone into this report, and it gives me a really good understanding of the stormwater issues involved. And yes, I think we need to get the stormwater management plan in place as soon as we possibly can and can afford to. Thank you.
Excellent. Councillor Brenny?
I reiterate what Councillor Churchill has said. Not having a stormwater management plan is exposing council to risk, serious risk. The fact that we don't know or can't define exactly what that risk is simply because we don't have a stormwater management plan that defines the risk and defines what our responsibilities as a council are. So to have a stormwater management plan that is up to date and current, and to have a set of solutions which indicates how council is going to treat flood events is absolutely crucial. And I'm absolutely amazed that we don't have one that was up to date. Thankfully, this will resolve that issue, and so I'll be supporting this.
I don't think we even have one. Not one up to date. We just don't have one.
We did a local area one,
Right.
not like for a specific area rather than capturing things.
Right. Councillor Arnold?
I just think Mr. Galea should be thanked for the work that he did on this, because I've lived in this house for 36 years and we've had a stormwater problem for 36 years. And it looks like he is identifying some of the problems. So as a ratepayer, I would like to thank him for the extent of work that he's done on this, and as a councillor as well.
Are you sort of asking, maybe, do you put it in as a fourth motion, or do you just want to, would you like the acting general manager to advise Mr. Galea?
I think the acting general manager could just shoot him a quick email and just acknowledge the work that he did on this particular report. I'd be more than happy with that.
Yeah. I absolutely agree, because it's really nice that some of these issues maybe have a, be able to mitigate some of the risk immediately without big cost, and there'll be a plan put in place and everybody will be contacted. And I think that's exciting, because I think it's been probably never that situation before.
No, exactly. Thank
you. Okay, so anyone? Oh, sorry, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I think that I may have a conflict of interest in this, and I do apologise for the lateness of this, but and I have read the report, but my address is actually stated, so
yep. That's mine. Mine's in there too, because I provided evidence to Mr. Galea of the stormwater.
Okay, so you two would just like to step out before we go into a vote, yes?
Yes.
Go into the waiting room?
Yep.
Yep, okay, you'll just hop out to the waiting room at 3:44 p.m.
Yep.
Yes.
Trying to get on in the sun.
Well, the point of order doesn't need to be listed anyway. That's just to the mayor, and I made a call.
I'm still here.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll get rid of you in a moment. In the nicest possible way. So so let's just, oh, sorry. Okay, so the point of order was just I've made a ruling on that, and that's all right. I don't think that's never ever been noted ever in the history of this council, so it doesn't need to be noted now. We're not setting up that new system. And also we just need it noted at 3:44, Deputy Mayor Arnold and Deputy Mayor Woods and Councillor Arnold went into the waiting room or left the meeting as they identified that both of they'd be party to discussions with Mr. Galea, provided information, or are listed as an address on the report or next door to the address listed on the report. Would somebody, Councillor Arnold asked that Mr. Galea is thanked, and maybe just sort of because she's left, maybe somebody else would like to suggest that. Councillor Simons, the same words?
Yes, I'd just like to have our acting general manager write Mr. Galea and thank him for all his work on this report. It's an excellent report, and he should be acknowledged for it.
Thank you, Councillor Simons. So where we're at on this very messy item is Councillor Churchill has moved it. Councillor Brini has seconded it. Councillor Churchill, did you speak to it? You did? Yes, you did. And Councillor Brenny, you followed that through, and then we said thank you to Mr. Galea, And anyone wish to speak against the motion?
No.
For the motion, Councillor Robinson.
Yes, I'd just like to just indicate it with the recommendation at 1.2. I'm assuming, I may be making an irrelevant assumption, that the Holcombe Court stormwater assessment that was undertaken in on the 2nd of October 2018 will be considered in any immediate actions that might be needed, because there was a lot of time and effort put into that as well. And I guess there are solutions, some immediate solutions there that may be looked at.
I'll go to the Acting General Manager because I know there's work being done in that space, sort of as a bit of a separate, but yeah.
Yeah, through that. So there has been continued work in that space through Brighton Council, the engineer that contracts directly to us, Lee Whiten, and their specific stormwater engineer. And they're basically finalised that now. They're going to do a briefing with the Works Manager, Rob Running, and Harry Galea. And then we hope to bring that to council workshop next month and progress that matter because the work's got to a state where it's ready to progress.
That's excellent. That's really good news. Thanks, Marissa.
Ms. Walters.
Thank you, Acting General Manager, Ms. Walters.
Thank you.
Okay. We need to vote, don't we?
Yes, we need to vote. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Who's left? Which is Mayor Wisby, Councillor Browning, Councillor Robinson, Breeny, Simons and Churchill. The motion's carried. If we could bring Deputy Mayor and Councillor Arnold out of the waiting room. Okay, so we are going to thank you for returning, and yes, it was unanimous without both of you, so it was 6 out of 6, and we just made it really clear. Councillor Arnold, Councillor Simons asked that Mr. Galea be thanked, so we just sort of went back through that process a bit just to ensure that that still happens, and it was made clear also in my words as to why you left, just for the recording. Yeah, just to be super careful. So now I need to call Councillor Arnold.
I was just going to say we should put this in the register of interest though to the Acting General Manager. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it probably won't hurt.
Nothing along the lines that I did not vote on agenda item 7.13 because I had provided evidence to the engineer.
Yeah, and 3:44 you left.
3:40?
3:44.
3:44, thank you.
And prior to the vote being undertaken, yeah. So
I'll put something in the register then. Thank you.
Sure. So we need to take a little break, or I do at least. So can we just have like 15 minutes? So adjourn at 3:50, reconvene at 4:05. Okay, if we can all be back onto this same meeting, because we need to obviously continue working through the last 6 items. Okay, so reconvening at 4:09 p.m. We're on to item, so all councillors are present, the Acting General Manager and Mr. Brunning, Works Manager, and the Executive Officer is back with us, Ms. Higgins. Item 7.14, retrospective approval letter of in-principle support, Bicheno Community Development Association Incorporated, additional seating around Bicheno. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Simons.
That Council retrospectively endorsed the letter of in-principle support provided to the Bicheno Community Development Association Incorporated by the Mayor on behalf of Council in support of its application for funding through the Destination Action Plan (DAP) group to seek a DAP specific state government grant dated 14th May 2020 and subject to the conditions contained therein.
Thank you. Councillor Arnold, to second.
Yes.
Thank you. Do you wish to speak to the motion, Councillor Simons?
No, I think it's fine. It's self-explanatory.
Councillor Arnold?
Agreed.
Anyone against the motion? For the motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Going on to item 7.15, councillor allowance. Could I have a motion, please? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. That the elected members of Glamorgan Spring Bay Council do not wish to take the automatic increase to their council allowance for the Mayor, Deputy Mayor and councillors at the November 2020, at 1 November 2020 for the 2020-2021 period.
I just question, is that an on or an at?
Oh, it all depends. I think it all depends. Sometimes they say one.
As at?
Yeah.
Is it an as at or is it an on? Sorry, let's just
I
get
think an on would
on.
be appropriate.
Yeah. Do you wish to? This doesn't make
Yeah.
On's
great. On's great. Thank you.
Thank you. So just change that word to on. And somebody to second, please. Councillor Robinson, do you wish to speak to the motion, Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I wouldn't mind speaking to it if I could. I was just wondering, I mean, I'm going to support it because anything we can do, anything I can do to ease the burden per se, I will try and do. But I was just wondering, how much is it actually going to save council to the acting general manager?
Well, my understanding from Councillor Arnold's little look into this was about $200 per councillor per annum. And so there's 8 councillors, 1,600. And then based on that, it must have been about about 600 for the mayor saving. And it would be about 300 for the deputy mayor. So 622, about 2,500, I would say.
Yeah. Yep. It was just just a thought, just a query.
Yep.
Yep.
So I think that's about where we're looking at, about around a $2,500 complete saving.
Yep.
Yep.
Depends. Mayor, it depends. It depends, of course, what they usually only put it up to CPI, I think, and it depends what the government decides this year or for this year. But it's going to be no more than 3,000, I would think, in total. I don't know whether the acting general manager would agree with that or not, but yeah.
So the acting general manager is nodding her head. Councillor Robinson, do you wish to speak?
Only to say that, yeah, I think it's a small gesture and it's a good, model for the community that we're just not going to take the increase in these tough times.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against the motion? For the motion, do you wish to close, Deputy Mayor?
No, all's been said. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. Corporate calendar 7.16. A motion, please. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. That council receives and notes the corporate calendar as attached to this report.
Thank you. Councillor Browning to second. Do you wish to speak, Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, that it's. I think it's a very good calendar. Easy to read and see where we're at, and yeah, that's about all I'd like to say. Thank you.
All our words start to blur after a while. That's what I'm laughing at. I'll just go to Councillor Browning, Councillor Arnold, then I'll come to you as the seconder. Councillor Browning, do you wish to speak? No. Councillor Arnold?
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a couple of questions. On the 11th line of the corporate calendar, there's some wording that says, appears much of the NRM funding no longer exists, and I'd like to seek some clarification around that, firstly. It's about the 11th line on the first page because the lines weren't numbered, so it was a bit difficult to It's a bit difficult to identify.
Yeah, next
The one where it says corporate generate departmental budgets with external funding details.
Oh, yep.
And under the review status comments, it says it appears much of NRM funding no longer exists.
I think that's just stating from an old version, and that can be deleted.
Right. Okay. And the other question I have is again in relation to NRM. None of the NRM documents actually appear in this calendar, and there's some that do need to be reviewed. There's weed management plan, the native flora and fauna plans for Bishano, Swansea, Coast Bay, Tribana and Orford, and the Swan Apsley, Prosser and Little Swamport catchment management plans. So they're not actually in the document, although the strategic plan does say at NRM or at the environment that to review the key performance indicator is going to be the review of those plans.
Could you just, could I just get Councillor Arnold to just list those again? The weed management plan.
Oh, hang on. Sorry, I'll have to get it back out of my, because I can't use it. I can't use my computer and do this Zoom meeting yet. I haven't figured out how to do that, Madam Acting General Manager. It's the Glamorgan Spring Bay Weed Management Plan, 2015-2020. The Native Flora and Fauna Plans for the major town centres, so Bishano, Swansea, Coles Bay, Tribana and Orford, and which is 2014-2019 in the current version of it, and the Swan Apsley, Prosser and Little Swamport catchment management plans. I think it's important to note in all of that, the existence of those plans has brought something like $1.5 million worth of funding into Glamorgan Spring Bay over the last 4 or 5 financial years, simply by having those plans. Okay.
What was the figure on that, Councillor Arnold?
1.5 million, I think it is, over about the last 5 financial years.
Thanks.
It could be worked out. I'm sure we can get you more specific details, but it's about approximately 1.5 million since 2013.
I will look into those.
Thank you. And is that the only comment, Councillor Arnold?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Does anyone wish to speak against the motion? Or, yep, no. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Item 717, Buckland Walk Trail. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Churchill.
I move that council terminate the Buckland Walk Trail project and reinstate/rehabilitate the extent of works already constructed as outlined in the recommendation of the report attached to this agenda item and in consultation with Crown Land Services. 2, that on completion of such works to a standard acceptable to Crown Land Services, Council authorise the General Manager to terminate the licence with Crown Land Services.
Thanks, Councillor Churchill. So just on item 2 there, you added the word to, and I just want to check the Acting General Manager, has that been picked up with Ms Higgins? That it says that on completion of such works to a standard acceptable to Crown Land Services, if that can be picked up. Thank you. Somebody to second.
If I may, in the first one there, the words Buckland Walk Trail were not in the original recommendation.
Where did you place that?
In the first, in part 1, the council terminate the Buckland Walk Trail project.
Yep, sure. And do you think we add the date of the agenda item also to this agenda item? Just for clarity, it's sort of good. Agenda item 7.17 dated, whatever today's date is, 26th the 5th, 20?
Yes.
That's okay with you?
Yes.
Could you just confirm that that's...
Did you pick that up, Josie? Thank you.
Good. Okay, so is that clear to everyone? Just adding a date, putting in Buckland Walk trail project and the word "to" in the number 2. Could I have somebody to second, please? Sorry, Councillor Brini. That went on me. Would the mover wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This has been a complicated issue, but the project appears to be the result of a thought bubble, combined with the availability of a small grant that is in no way in proportion to the potential cost of the project. On the advice given in the attached report, the council contributed a contribution of $22,000 allocated in the 2018-2019 budget was a poorly calculated estimate of the funding required in combination with a $10,000 grant. Proper process has not been followed in this project and community consultation has been minimal. The construction of a walkway within a riparian zone without proper engineering and appropriate environmental reports subjects such a project to a high risk of failure. There are questions around the ownership of some of the land over which the walkway crosses and its proximity to private land adjacent to the construction site. There are many issues in the accompanying report to guide and justify a decision not to continue this project.
Thank you.
Sorry, I had a little bit more there, please, Mayor.
Yeah, can I just, Councillor Churchill, I see that Ms Kelly's entered the room, so that needs to be added into the minutes that that occurred at 4:22 or whenever it occurred, I don't know. But thank you, Councillor Churchill, sorry to interrupt.
On the qualified advice of the Lang design consultant, the estimated cost to restore the site will be way less than the cost to complete the project with the ongoing cost of maintenance and the potential for repeated flood events. To me, the Lang design report is very detailed and very clear. There is also no reason for council to continue with the licence in relation to the land involved. It should be restored with the use of native vegetation and returned to the care of Crown Land Services. I encourage all councillors to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brini, as a second, did you wish to speak? Mute. Mute.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'd wish to, first of all, reiterate the points that Councillor Churchill has mentioned. I think I've also looked at explanations and comments in relation to the report from those responsible for the construction. I find this very difficult. I find that in constructing something like this, without having the proper input from qualified advice, other than the qualified advice that was achieved, I understand there was, but surely there was some sort of advice to council as to the efficacy of construction of a walking pathway in a riparian zone that, contrary to several statements made by people who were involved, that were subject to flooding. Now, I've been on the site, I've seen the construction site. I understand that there are some sections of it that are just a track, and that's fine. But the overall continuity of this track is subject to some serious erosion problems that I believe have not been properly addressed, other than being addressed in the report by the consultant. The fact that it's going to cost council a minimum of $50,000 by the look of it, just to rectify a problem that could well cost us well in excess of 120 plus another 5 to 20,000 a year. It just blows my mind that this sort of thing was allowed to occur in the first place without proper scrutiny, I would call it, and to put us councillors into a situation where we have to look at a construction site that has already got to a certain stage where even those people in the construction, involved in the construction, beg a belief at the fact that it's going to be stopped. We have to explain that this situation has occurred because somebody somewhere didn't take into account all of the factors that involved in a track like this. This sort of track is a very, very touchy issue. It could have been done in a different way. This report, I believe, certainly has flagged to me issues that need to be addressed and hopefully will be in future. And I will be supporting this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Arnold?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. In speaking against this motion, this project has been on Capital Works for at least 2 years, and yet it's only now it's been decided that it shouldn't happen. The report states that a number of residents in Buckland have raised concerns over the project, but what about the residents that support the project? In the risk considerations, there is a dot point that states lack of consultation and approval from council. This has been in the Capital Works budget now for the last 2 iterations, a Capital Works budget that council approved. So I don't understand how that statement can be made. It is stated that the site is at risk of flooding, but no data has been provided to support that. This is based on the report of a resident and the assumptions of a landscape architect after visiting the site and providing a report to council. There's several notations in that report where it is assumed that there will be flooding. The matter was discussed at workshops and information was requested to be provided in relation to the flood data and evidence regarding the sale of part of the Crown Reserve to a private owner. When I left the workshop at 3:40 on Tuesday the 12th of May, I was under the impression that the report in today's agenda would have that data included. I was also under the impression that the officer's recommendation would reflect the opportunity for councillors to either decide to finalise stage 1 or rehabilitate the area following their review of this additional data. On Thursday the 14th of May, the Acting General Manager sought flooding data from the landscape architect who prepared the report, but there was one line that was concerning in the email, and that stated, "I sense they're going to go down the rehabilitation path." The response from the landscape architect did not in any way provide accurate and reliable data in relation to flooding. It merely confirmed his conversation with a resident and his assumption based on his site visit. My understanding is the report contains an error in that the historic church walk was removed from the plan some time ago, and yet it has been assessed in this expert's report. It is considered that detailed engineering design drawings were required to start the project. Then why isn't the same engineering assessment required to stop it? How do we know that an engineer would not approve it? Earlier in the agenda, we approved the strategic plan. On page 9 of that document, it states, planning and creating recreational spaces and facilities, making it easier for us to live active, healthy lives, both physically and mentally. How is council going to achieve that for the people of Buckland if they stop this walking track? We can provide dog exercise yards in an area where there is significant open space for dogs to be exercised, but we can't provide recreational facilities for our residents because there is no support in the community. There was little support in the Buckland community for the dog exercise yard, but council dismissed that concern and built the yard anyway. I believe before any decision to rehabilitate this area is made, council should undertake community consultation to determine the sort of support for the project. It wouldn't be onerous, it wouldn't be expensive. There are very few people who live in the Buckland area. Obtain accurate and reliable flooding data, which was a recommendation of the landscape architect in his email, as well as accurate and reliable data in relation to the ownership of land parcels. There are too many assumptions in the land architect's report. Just because a fence line or a shed is in a particular place on a reserve doesn't necessarily prove that the owner has title to that piece of land. There are many examples of landowners encroaching on reserves across our municipal area, and it's only when matters like this arise that council learns about them. Any decision today to reinstate or rehabilitate the area is premature. it would be prudent for council to defer the matter to enable it to be considered in an open and transparent manner after receipt of the flooding data and the ownership details. Open and transparent is the very principle that many in this chamber campaigned for during the last election, but this doesn't appear to have been done in an open and transparent manner. Thank you.
Anyone wish to speak for the motion? For the motion, Councillor Simons?
No, I'm sorry, I put my hand up when you asked if anyone to speak against the motion.
No, I said for.
Sorry, when Cheryl went to speak against the motion, I
Against,
Point
but
of
at the
order.
moment I'm asking one for, and then I'll come back to the against.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, point of order again, Mayor. We are still using Christian names. Please try and remember to use the proper. Councillor Simons just referred to Councillor Arnold as Cheryl.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay, so speak for the motion. Against the motion, Councillor Simons?
Yeah, I won't be supporting this motion today. I've got similar concerns to Councillor Arnold in that I think the report from Lang Design is lacking. I think it should have been carried out by a qualified engineer. I also think the review of the report by the council officers who made notes on the report that was sent to us should have been presented as well, as that review actually addresses quite a few of the concerns which were raised by Mr. Lang. As Councillor Arnold said, the risk considerations in the report we have here, I think, can be quite easily addressed and addressed fairly quickly. Community consultation can be undertaken. The permit issues can be addressed by the planning department if there are any. Engineering can be addressed with erosion, safety risks, drainage, stormwater issues. A lot of those issues seem to have been addressed by the council officers to some degree in the short time that they obviously had to look at that report. As Councillor Arnold said again, the annual flooding mentioned in the report was based on information gained from as the report said, from one property owner. So that's not qualified advice. In fact, the locals I spoke to in the area don't recall any flooding, and we did have that 125 mil in April, which the track wasn't completed, and it really didn't seem to cause a lot of damage. So I'm not sure about the annual flooding. The Lang report also questioned the positioning of the track as far as the surveying of the boundaries go, again, based on a conversation with the property owner. My understanding is in the council's review of the report, they were saying that a qualified surveyor was employed and that those survey pegs are all in the right spots. So I think once we consider all those risk considerations, we can then address, which was Councillor Churchill and Councillor Breeny's concern, or part of their concerns, was the lack of consultation and the proper due process that brought about this project. The problem we have is the project is 90% complete, and I have a real concern about the remediation of it. I think the $50,000 that's been quoted in the Lang report could be grossly not anywhere near enough money to put it back to its original state. So I'd just like to see quite a bit more information on it and address some of these risk considerations in the report, and then make a decision based once we have some more answers on it.
Okay, someone wish to speak for the motion? Against the motion? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not sure whether it's against them. I concur with, I take on board Councillor Churchill and Councillor Breeny's concerns. I also take on board Councillor Arnold and Councillor Simons' concerns as well, and I share some of all of it. What I would like to do is, if I could, move a foreshadowed motion to defer this until all of the information that has been requested by various councillors here with regards to this, to be deferred until all information and community consultation can be achieved before a decision as big as this for a small community who, you know, really don't have that much there, is made by council. So I'd like to move a motion, a foreshadowed motion to defer this,
Sorry, point of order. Sorry, I wasn't concentrating what you was doing there. When you move a foreshadow, you can't speak to it. So you just got to move it. So,
yeah, I'll move, yeah, okay,
yeah,
I'll move it.
Say what it is and stop talking.
Okay, so I'll move a foreshadowed motion to defer our item 7.17 Buckland Walk Trail until further information has been provided to councillors.
Hold on a moment. This has to be typed, so you just need to slow up. So you haven't got it. You haven't.
No, I haven't.
It, have you? So you need to slow right up, so it can be
Yep.
typed. So start from the beginning, please.
So the motion is to defer item 7.17 Buckland Walk Trail until further information from qualified engineers and community consultation is undertaken regards to the Buckland Walk Trail.
Okay, I'm just going to sit that one on the table, Deputy Mayor, at the moment. Like it sits, obviously, it's a foreshadow, so we deal with the matter on the table at the moment. Yes, I can see your hand, Councillor Arnold. I won't be a moment. So I'll sit that there and we deal with the matter that's on the table at the moment. So you're foreshadowed that that's what you'd like to do if this motion doesn't get up. Councillor Arnold?
I was just going to say I'd second Councillor Deputy Mayor Woods' foreshadowed motion because I think she does.
You don't have to have one. I can accept it without a seconder.
Ken, thank you. The only thing I would like to ask is if flood data could be included in that motion.
Well, that's not your foreshadow motion. So if we get to that point, then I think you can probably add to it, but we're not there yet. It's just one that's on the table. And if it comes back up again and you second it, then you can put that. Okay, so considering we're back on the original motion as it stands, does anyone wish to speak for the motion? Now, just for the sake of clarity, can we have that read out, please, what the foreshadow motion is? Can I have your phone on speaker? I was going to pass it over.
Right.
Yep.
I've got moved Deputy Mayor that item 7.17 Buckland Walk Trail be deferred until further information from qualified engineers is obtained and community consultation is undertaken in regards to the Buckland Walk Trail.
Thank you. Just to make it clear what the foreshadow, so that's a foreshadow motion, Ms. Higgins. So if there's no further debate in respect to this matter, then I will speak. There's probably a few things here that's come out of the conversation. First of all, I'd like to know what processes, policies, whatever you want to call them, will occur to ensure the community, the councillors, the council are never put in this situation again where, you know, we need to face up to a community with either a really big over expenditure on the endorsed budget that qualified advice told us is this is what we need to do this whole project, where works have been done and significant cuts into a wall have occurred, which my understanding even of, you know, of construction and the Building Act requires significant supports to be put up. Just what I saw myself with some rain down there and the damage that was done to the track. So what assurance can be given from an operational sense that this won't be repeated again?
Through you, Mayor, I think this demonstrates a need to review our internal processes in relation to these kinds of projects, whether that be some guiding principles, some internal procedures, checklists, or whether, you know, overarching policy that sort of outlines the things that need to be done, whether, you know, that's community consultation, you know, appropriate, you know, the planning and environmental side, you know, the budget implications, the engineering, making sure we do proper design, risk assessments, those kind of things need to be incorporated and in a central place that both staff, management, elected members are then referring to, that brings it all together before you make the decision to commit to the project, and having a proper project plan of how we're going to achieve those things. And it can be challenging, especially in a small community, in relation to the time pressures that sometimes get put on us, particularly when grant money is involved, and sometimes it's not even grant money we ask for. Usually comes with some pretty tight timeframes, but I think if we can develop some processes around that and develop the discipline that we need to go through these in the first place, we might avoid these occurring in the future. So I think that's something that needs to come back to council, maybe added to the corporate calendar, to be worked on in the coming months, of how we have that documentation so everyone's aware, you know, like a checklist. These are things we need to go through and consider when making these kinds of decisions and commitments.
Thanks. The other thing is, I was very much supportive of the recommendation as written. The only thing that's changed in the last few days is that we've got a new works manager who happens to be an engineer. So I think we've got one, you know, sitting in the room, well, in the next room actually. But and what I mean, I would be prepared for a deferral, but not to community consultation, but a deferral to our works manager, our new works manager, who is suitably qualified to provide council with a report in the first instance. So I'm not going, I think it's already been identified, and it was actually identified by staff, but the longer it's left, the more risk of erosion and the risk of, and correct me if I'm wrong, the risk of erosion, the risk of additional costs to council. So I don't think it's something we can sit around and ponder for too long, and it's sort of been pondered for long enough. So I would support a deferral. We've got a council meeting most probably in about, we're going to have to call a special meeting in respect to planning, and maybe even the budget, maybe like a week into next month. So maybe that's something that could be brought back onto that special meeting, is a report from our new works manager with some qualified advice in respect to the track. But I wouldn't be supporting going to community consultation, because I don't think that's what we need now, is that qualified advice. And if the advice that we've already got is being questioned, then that would be the only direction I would go. But I wouldn't be going to community consultation, because I don't think at this point that's what it's about. Yeah, so I have spoken, and Councillor Churchill, do you wish to? Oh, sorry, Councillor Simons, you indicated whilst I was speaking that you wished to say something. Was there something you wanted to say?
Yeah, sorry, you just clarified it then. Part of what I was speaking against was the fact that I didn't think the qualified advice was good enough, which you've addressed in by saying that we could have our engineer take a look at it, probably with the works officer and the people that would be doing the work. So yeah, that's what I was going to mention.
Okay, so remembering there is a foreshadow motion, and as I said, My problem is the foreshadow motion I can't support either. So anyway, we've got a motion. The only other option is there is a further four. Ooh. Councillor Arnold, help me here. Can we do a second foreshadow?
I think you can only have 2 amended motions. I don't think you can have 2 foreshadowed, but it's a long time since I've done it, Mayor, so I'm sorry, I'm not much help with you on this occasion. I don't think you can have any more than 2 amendments, but I think only 1 foreshadowed. I might be wrong.
Deputy Mayor?
Would it be preferable for the deferral to take place if I amended the foreshadow motion that I have put up to withdraw, including community consultation?
Yep, that would make me happy.
Is that possible? If I could ask?
Yes.
Yep, that's possible.
That's to me. Yep, that's like I can go yes to that. You know, obviously you need to get a seconder when we get to that point, and then obviously the decision. But that's fine at this point to make it clear that you're removing that part of your foreshadow motion.
Yes, I'll remove that part of the motion to remove the community consultation
component. Yep.
Component. Yep.
Yep. Sure. Okay, so do you wish to... We need the light on now. I can't see. Sorry, I've got a migraine. We turn the lights off and now I actually can't see the paperwork. So, Councillor Churchill, do you wish to... do you wish to close?
Yes, please. Yes, there's just a few comments I'd like to make. Yeah, I fully respect the opinions that have been offered here from other councillors. I think there's a few things that really... I mean, we've actually discussed everything that should have been done before this process was commenced. And I still believe that if the figures add up the way they appear to be from the information that we already have, that we shouldn't be pursuing the completion of this project. One other thing I would like to just mention there on the issue of flooding. Councillor Simons mentioned the 125 mils of rain on the 2nd of April. I don't believe that that amount of rain actually fell in the Buckland area. I certainly believe that it fell in the Orford Tribunna area, but there was no measurement that was given to us in the report specifically for Buckland. So I think it's a bit unfair to assume that that was a major fall of water there on that 2nd of April, and whatever water did fall on that date certainly did some damage, but I don't believe it was anywhere near those quantities of water. Yeah, I'm even having a little bit of a struggle myself at the moment whether I support my own motion. But,
and that's okay. We can change our mind. We do have a foreshadow, and if you do wish to go down that track and have our new works manager review and provide a report.
It's very comforting to have a works manager here who also is an engineer, because I believe that this whole concept was under-engineered. I think would be very fair to say that, and probably there wasn't enough work in that area. So it's comforting to have that. The other thing to remember too is this started back in about 2015. So this has been a long drawn out process, and even the finances that were allocated at that time were probably don't even apply now. So we've got a few issues there to look at, but I think a qualified engineering report would be a good place to start. So thank you.
Yep. Councillor Breen, that was closing comments, so we can't take any more. I was going to say something then. So remembering we've got a foreshadow motion here. If this gets lost, we will move towards a foreshadow motion. I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Councillor Robinson, where are you? Sorry, take yourself off mute, Councillor Robinson, please.
I'm going to have to turn a light on.
Thank you. Can you go turn your light on? I can't see you. Do that now.
And I'll be moving.
Yeah, I saw everybody else's hands, so you can put them down. Let's just wait. Oh, Councillor Robinson's lost his head.
I know, I sometimes do.
Off with your head.
Oh. Is that any better? That probably is, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So that's unanimous. So the motion is lost. And now back to the foreshadow. Deputy Mayor, so could you please, Ms Higgins, could you please just read the foreshadow motion that's been put by the Deputy Mayor, which now excluded the community consultation?
Sure. Move, Deputy Mayor, that item 7.17, Buckland Walk Trail, be deferred until further information from a qualified engineer is obtained in regards to the Buckland Walk Trail. Did you want the works manager or qualified engineer in there?
I think, if I may, qualified engineer is fine because, I'm sorry, works manager, I've forgotten your last name.
Brunning.
Mr.
Sorry,
Brunning.
Mr. Brunning, sorry. Mr. Brunning is a qualified engineer, so I think that suffices. Thank you.
We'll get used to it.
Yeah.
Yep, so you're happy with that. Could I have somebody to second, Councillor Rahn, or do you wish to speak to your foreshadow? Oh, sorry, now it is the motion now. Do you wish to speak to your motion, Deputy Mayor?
I'll reserve for closing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Arnold?
No, thank you. I'll rely on the Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Against? No. Before closing, I would just like to say that I think this matter needs to be dealt with, so if it can come back to the first, very first meeting. I'll come to you, Councillor Branding. If it can come back to the first meeting, next council meeting, you know what I mean? So we will have a special between now and next. Yeah, and if this matter can be brought back to the table for for a decision, that'll be good. Thank you.
With the works manager.
Yes,
do
you
think
can.
That's an acceptable time frame.
Yes, I think so. If it's I haven't been to the site yet, and but I believe we'll be able to deliver some clarity on how reliable the report is that we have in front of us.
No pressure, Mr. Brunning. Councillor Brenny?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just would like to have clarity as to why, or can I have clarity as to why the requirement for public consultation has been removed from the motion?
Well, from my perspective, the reason why the public consultation, if the report came back and it was deemed that it was going to cost $120,000 to finish the track and the track's unsafe, and you know, if that's what the next report comes back and says, personally, I think it'd be irresponsible to put a motion on council that we have to wait for public consultation, which normally takes a long time. We've got examples of that, Alford Sandspit for one, that can take a long time. So it's just that I wouldn't like to be hamstrung by a motion of the council. So it's not that I'm totally against public consultation, but the fact is, you know, depending on the risk, and there's already been rock falls and all that sort of stuff along there. That was the reason why I didn't want to go with a public consultation. But Deputy Mayor Woods may have a different thought on that.
Am I able to speak, or am I closing?
No, just answering
yes. Now I'll take Councillor Breeny's point and question, and to a degree I concur with what you're saying. Unfortunately, with this whole situation with the Buckland Walk Trail, sorry, you know, there has been no community consultation for or against it. We have received, no doubt other councillors have received calls supporting and not supporting it from community members. So I feel that that part of the community consultation may have taken place by stealth anyway. But to be able to move this on, removing the community consultation also allows us to get a report from Mr. Brunning. Did I get right? So I do apologise for that. You know, in a timely manner, and able to move this on and get some clarity with regards to where to go to from here, because it is causing a lot of angst within the communities, with the community of Buckland. Either they want it, with the people that want it, or they don't want it. But we need to have, I believe we need to have engineer's report and not rely on a landscape architect's report. Thank you.
Councillor Arnold, do you want to make a comment before we move for close?
Yes, please. I'm kind of still on the path of, pardon the pun, but on the path of community consultation, only because we didn't have a lot of community consultation in relation to the dog exercise yard. And we're basing the decisions here on anti-comments. I don't think we've actually heard from the community down in Buckland that actually do want the trail. And so that was only my reason for suggesting community consultation, to actually get a specific answer from the community as to whether they want it. Because like the dog exercise yards, there's a percentage that want it, there's a percentage that don't.
Okay, just moving this forward quickly, Councillor Browning.
Through the Mayor, going back to the process right from 2015, obviously, when this all started, you would have thought the community consultation would have been done back then. So, you know, you know, I guess better late than never, but I mean, you know, why wasn't it done then is, you know, my question.
And it's a messy situation, Councillor Browning, as a result. I mean, like it came to the table as the previous council, in the previous council in the first time, and I would have thought these processes would have been followed back then, as I'm sure Deputy Mayor and Councillor Arnold thought also. Unfortunately, they were not. Councillor Churchill?
Yeah, just one quick comment is that, to my mind, until we have some actual estimates on the cost of it, we can't take a project back to community consultation that we clearly can't afford if we can't afford it. So that would be my answer to the community consultation. It should not occur until the funding is available to do the project where it strongly supported. Thank you.
Okay, Deputy Mayor, do you want to close, please?
Oh, yes, thank you. Other than to say how refreshing it is to actually have a respectful debate. And I thank all councillors for taking part in the debate. This debate, it is a tricky situation, and it's quite prickly. And I hope councillors support the deferred motion. That's all I need to say. Thanks.
I just sort of need to do a bit of a point of order on that, Deputy Mayor. We don't have disrespectful debates.
No.
Like you said, no. Refreshing to have a debate. We have debates all the time. We may not always agree, but that's fine. We don't have disrespectful debates. I think this council is going really nicely in respect to that everybody has an opportunity to voice their thoughts and to change their mind if they see fit. So I think what you're sort of saying there is that in this case there's been some change of minds and we've come to a way forward, which is good. I concur with that. I'm going to put the motion in. So this motion, just to be clear, is that the new works manager basically provides a report to council, and the idea is that it would come back to the next council meeting. That's not in the motion. I don't think it needs to be, but that would be the sort of idea. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Maybe we can get through this next one a bit quicker. 718. This is Community Combating Pests and Weeds Impacts During Drought Program. So can I have a motion, please? Deputy Mayor, sorry, Councillor Arnold.
Thank you. I'll move that Council 1 endorse Council staff to execute the grant program in accordance with the grant deed, and 2, Council provide the Acting General Manager with delegation to sign the grant deed when it is provided by the Australian Government.
Councillor Arnold, do you want to change that so we know what grant deed we're talking about?
I think you're right, Mayor. So we will call it by its name, which I think is quite long from memory.
As written on 718 at the front?
Yes. Thank you.
Cool. Did you get that, Ms. Higgins? Yep. Okay, so all those words on the front gets popped in there, that grant deed. Thank you. And somebody to second? Oh, sorry, Councillor Simons, you had your hand up also before. Councillor Arnold, do you wish to speak to your motion?
No, I think it's quite, the report's quite well written and provides the information that councillors need. I think the important thing to be considered in this is that Glamorgan Spring Bay was the only council in Tasmania that was eligible to apply for this particular drought funding, and it also will support our farmers significantly with drought funding.
And the seconder, Councillor Simons, do you wish to speak?
Yes, I'd just like to say I think it's a great result for Glamorgan Spring Bay, and congratulations to the department for getting the grant. I know there was some concern about the hurriedness of it, and I'm glad they did put the extra work in to get it. I like the idea that there's an in-kind contribution from the landowners. I think that always helps with these sorts of grant, that they've got some skin in the game as such. So yeah, well done to everyone. Thank you.
Anyone wish to speak against the motion? For the motion? Does the speaker wish to close debate? Oh, sorry, Councillor Greenie.
Just briefly, my congratulations as well to all those responsible for this grant. It's substantial and it's a great job. Thank you. Well done.
Thank you. So does the speaker wish to close debate?
No, thank you, Mayor. I think it's all been said.
Good. Put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. 719. Availability of unconfirmed council minutes to the public. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Breeny.
I move that council makes the unconfirmed minutes of a council meeting, other than a closed meeting, publicly available via council's website at least 2 weeks before the next ordinary council meeting.
Oh, sorry. Did you read that exactly as it's written?
Exactly.
Now, the reason I ask is recall that email we got requesting the full version or something. Did you wish to include?
Oh, correction. Yes.
Long minutes. Sorry, not full, but long minutes.
What I assumed was that the unconfirmed minutes are the full minutes. Could, through you, Ms. Mayor, is it possible to have confirmed that the minutes referred to in this motion, in this recommended motion, are the full minutes or not?
Through you, Mayor, Ms. Higgins and I have been speaking about this and looking and seeing what other councils are doing, and what we think would be a good example is perhaps have the recommendation from the officer and then the motions that get passed. So there's a bit, so I guess like a full version, but without any extra like photos or other things that might have come with the report. I think, and that we just have one set.
So have the long minutes.
Yeah.
But that's not a true accurate record though if we don't have the full document.
No, we still have the minutes.
Yeah, but it's not an accurate record of the agenda that was presented to council if they don't get the full.
Ms. Higgins, have you any comments on that? Because I'm not sure it's.
Yeah, historically, we've only put up the shortened version. A lot of councils, in doing some research on this, don't even put the officer's recommendation up. They take the whole agenda report out and just put the council decision. But in the past couple of months, we've been leaving the recommendation in and the council decision. The shortened version is on the web. The councillors get both the shortened and the long version. It's not a problem putting the whole long version on the web, but for the purpose of the councillors reviewing the minutes, you would probably just email them the long version and print out the shortened version.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, Councillor Brenny, you could actually say in there, if you want to be clear that you want the long minutes put on council's website, then I'd suggest you put that word in there. Unconfirmed long minutes.
Long minutes, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Is it called long minutes or full minutes?
Long and short.
I'll reread the motion. I move that council makes the unconfirmed long minutes of a council meeting, other than a closed meeting, publicly available via council's website at least 2 weeks before the next ordinary council meeting. Thank you.
Yeah. And could I have somebody to second that, please? Councillor Simons. So, Ms. Walters, would you take that as meaning that the long minutes then would end up being the minutes that's put on the website?
Yes.
Yes, good. Okay, to confirm
That's
that.
pretty clear.
No, I mean after they're confirmed. It would be the long minutes that are on the website once confirmed.
No.
Yes, thanks, Ms. Higgins.
I think the intention is just for, rather than having waiting until, the intention of the report, I think, was rather than waiting till council confirms the minutes at the next ordinary meeting, putting them up as unconfirmed minutes. That way the public can see what decisions council made at the last meeting before they're confirmed. If you put them on the website as unconfirmed, generally there's a statement or a disclaimer saying that they're yet to be confirmed by council and may be subject to change at the next ordinary council meeting.
Yeah, that's not my question. My question was, once they are confirmed, what will go on the website? Because that's what the gentleman that wrote in.
Just change the word on them from unconfirmed to confirmed.
So the long would remain on the website, Councillor Brenny. That's what you'd like to see. Long.
Thank you.
Yep,
yes.
Good. That's what I'd like to see. That's why I asked the question. So Councillor Brenny, do you wish to speak to it?
Just briefly, it's a clear example of good governance and transparency. It avoids people getting the wrong message or misleading information. Even though the information is never misleading in short minutes, some people need to know the whole of the story before they make an opinion on it or whatever. And I think this makes it clear. It's maybe more work, and I apologise if that's the case for staff, but I think it makes council's decisions a lot more clear to the public. Thank you.
Councillor Simons, do you wish to speak?
I should agree with Councillor Brenny on all those points. Thank you.
Good. Yep, done those two. Anyone wish to speak against? Or I'll put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Item 8, notices of motion, none. Item 9, petitions, none. Questions without notice. Any questions? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. My question relates to a motion 8.1 in the, sorry, I'm that cold, in the March meeting, on the 24th of March 2020. was passed with regards to Dr. Naidoo taking a break for 4 to 5 months. And there were 3 parts to the motion. The motion was moved by Councillor Browning and seconded by Councillor Churchill that the Mayor writes to Dr. Naidoo, thanking him for his 30 years service to the community and confirms Council's commitment to sourcing more doctors as required to cover the additional patient load during his break, and C, advises that Council looks forward to his return from leave and him joining with East Coast Health in Tribunna and participating under the community-owned entity. So my questions are, A, did the Mayor write to Dr. Naidoo thanking him for his 30-year service? B, how much has it cost residents and ratepayers for the cancellation fees related to the locums not being needed anymore? And C, has the above-mentioned doctor indicated that he will join East Coast Health now that he hasn't taken the mentioned leave?
Okay, we'll take that on notice. Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Any further?
Thank you. No.
Okay, moving on to item 11. So just making note that I note that Ms. Kelly left the room at 5:11 p.m. If that could be noted in the minutes, please, as an attendee. Confidential items, closed sessions. So there's 3 items. Item 1, minutes of closed session, ordinary council meeting held 28th of April 20. To be considered, minutes of the closed session special meeting held 15th of May 2020. And item 3, future options for visitor information centres. Could I have a motion, please, to move into closed? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move that Council moves into closed session at 5:12 p.m.
Thank you. Somebody to second, please. Councillor Browning? All those in favour? Now, is that 1, 2, 3? Yeah, sorry, yeah, it's unanimous. Thank you.